Hello, and welcome to 10 for 10, 10th News, your weekly dose of 10th Amendment news in 10 minutes or so from us here at the 10th Amendment Center. Today is February 25th, 2013. My name is Michael Bolden. Thank you for tuning in. Last week was a huge week for votes and hearings on nullification bills in states around the country. More than a dozen bills were considered just last week, and a wide majority of them are moving forward. In just a moment, we'll cover the highlights and let you know what's coming up next. But first, this week's episode is made possible in part by the 10th Amendment Center membership program. Proudly wear the 10ther label with pride and become a card-carrying member of us here at the 10th Amendment Center. Your membership support helps us continue the pressure. It helps us cover our base expenses and helps us reach new people through advertising and direct outreach. As you'll see in this week's 10ther News, these efforts are having a concrete effect, with more states moving forward on 10th Amendment Center-related bills last week than any week in our 7-year history. Get all the details and join us at members.10thamendmentcenter.com. And now the news. In Montana, the state house last week voted to prohibit enforcement of any federal ban on semi-automatic firearms or large-capacity magazines. The vote was close. It was 56-42. House Bill 302 will now move on to the state Senate, where the vote is likely to be close as well. But inside sources tell us that strong pressure from the grassroots will move the legislation forward to the governor's desk. As some gun manufacturers are facing potential restrictions and threats on their businesses in the states they're located in, a state house committee passed a bill that would lay out the welcome mat for gun manufacturers in the state of Oklahoma. House Bill 2021, that's HB 2021, would exempt firearms manufactured and remaining in the state of Oklahoma from federal law, federal taxation, or federal regulation, including registration. It passed the Public Safety Committee unanimously. The vote was 13-0. It faces one more vote in the Rules Committee in the House before moving to the full House for debate and vote. To get model legislation and to track the status of these and similar bills around the country, visit tracking.10thamendmentcenter.com/second. That's 2ND. Again, that's tracking.10thamendmentcenter.com/second. Bills to nullify the federal plan to cover American skies with spy drones are beginning to move forward as well. In Virginia, a 2-year moratorium, some would call it a ban on the use of drones, has been approved by both the State House and State Senate and is on its way to Governor Bob McDonnell's desk for a signature. HB 2012 passed the State House by a vote of 93-4 and the State Senate by a vote of 40-0. While this ban or moratorium is only for 2 years, activists feel that this gives them enough breathing room to further educate the public and expand the effort in the near future. And in Washington state, a bill that would severely restrict the use of drones permanently, primarily to those situations where a warrant was issued first, passed a state house committee. Big hitter corporate lobbyists came out to testify in opposition to the bill, claiming that restricting drone use would be damaging to the state economy and could even lead to killers running rampant in the streets. But the committee wasn't swayed by their scare tactics, and House Bill 1771, HB 1771, passed in Washington by a vote of 9-1. It'll now require one last committee vote before moving to the full House for consideration. To get model legislation and to track the status of these and similar bills in states around the country, visit tracking.10thamendmentcenter.com/drones. Again, that's tracking.10thamendmentcenter.com/drones. Nullification efforts to resist NDAA indefinite detention keep moving forward as well. In Indiana, Senate Bill 400, SB 400, which would require the state to refuse compliance with such unconstitutional federal plans for indefinite detention, passed the state Senate by a vote of 31-17. It now goes on to the state House, where a tough battle is ahead, before it can go to Governor Pence's desk for a signature and become law. In Arizona, a similar bill was approved by the State House Judiciary Committee in front of a packed house of people from across the political spectrum. Support from the people in the grassroots was so strong in favor that the committee chair during the hearing noted that they would never have time to hear from everyone who signed up to speak in support of the legislation, and that only 2 people appeared to be opposed to it. The committee voted 6-2 in favor. And now House Bill 2573 in Arizona, HB 2573, has one final committee vote before going to the full House for consideration. And in Montana, House Bill 522 is on the fast track to the state Senate. It was given unanimous approval late last week and should get a full House vote very soon this week. The 20-0 vote once again showed that support for resisting NDAA indefinite detention comes from across the political spectrum. And this should also be a lesson to legislators in states like South Carolina, where nearly identical bills have people split on party lines in the state Senate. That's Senate Bill 92 in South Carolina. To get model legislation for your state or even for your local community and to track the status of these and similar bills in states and localities around the country, visit us online at tracking.10thamendmentcenter.com/NDAA. Again, that's tracking.10thamendmentcenter.com/NDAA. Moving forward, 2 states last week moved forward with Hemp Freedom Acts. These bills would authorize the growing and production of industrial hemp, which is used all over the United States right now in products such as clothing, oils, foods, and much more. The federal government has effectively banned the production of hemp and has forced U.S. consumers to become the world's largest importer of hemp. The world's largest exporters? They're China and Canada. The Hemp Freedom Act would nullify these unconstitutional acts from the federal government. New Hampshire's House Bill 153 was passed out of committee by a vote of 17-2 last week, and Washington State's House Bill 1888 also passed out of committee by a vote of 8-0. Both bills have a long way to go in their respective state houses, then state senates, before going off to the governors there for a signature. But these votes are a positive sign that legislators and the public alike are showing strong support for hemp freedom and nullification of unconstitutional federal bans on the production and growing of that plant. To get model legislation and to track the status of these and similar bills in states around the country, visit tracking.10thamendmentcenter.com/hemp. Again, that's tracking.10thamendmentcenter.com/hemp. Only one state last week had a vote on Obamacare nullification. That was in Oklahoma. State Representative Mike Ritz's House Bill 1021 passed out of committee by a vote of 7-3. HB 1021 declares that the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act is, quote, not authorized by the Constitution of the United States and violates its true meaning and intent as given by the founders and ratifiers, and is hereby declared to be invalid in the state of Oklahoma, shall not be recognized by the state of Oklahoma, is specifically rejected by the state of Oklahoma, and shall be considered null and void and of no effect in this state, end quote. And in Arizona, a state Senate committee gave approval to the Constitutional Tender Act, a bill which would authorize the use of gold and silver as legal tender in the state. It would remove any tax penalties against conducting transactions in these metals, which are required in Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution. The vote was close in the Finance Committee, but Senate Bill 1439 moved forward by a vote of 4-3. And in closing today, a number of other bills will have important hearings and votes this week. Some of the highlights. In Tennessee, it's do or die for twin bills to nullify unconstitutional federal gun laws in that state. Senate Bill 250 and House Bill 248 are up for committee and subcommittee hearings and possible votes in both this Wednesday, and votes will likely determine their fate. In Colorado, House Bill 13-1045, that's HB 13-1045, the NDAA nullification bill, faces a third and final reading and vote in the State House as early as today, but likely it'll come on Tuesday. In New Hampshire, House Bill 399, Dan Itz's NDAA nullification bill, that's the Liberty Preservation Act, is expected to get a full House committee vote later this week. More than 100 activists showed up in support of the bill at a committee hearing last week, and reports are very positive towards passage. And in San Francisco, the Board of Commissioners there will take up a resolution against indefinite detention on Tuesday, February 26th. Track these and all other nullification efforts online at tracking.10thamendmentcenter.com. Again, that's tracking.10thamendmentcenter.com. That covers our report here today on 10 for 10, 10th News. Get 10 minutes or so of 10th Amendment news every single week from us here at the 10th Amendment Center. Watch 10th News every week on youtube.com/10th Amendment Center and view all our archive shows at news.10thamendmentcenter.com. My name is Michael Bolden. Thanks again for tuning in.